Hey, today's yoga practice is going to be focused on forward bending with variations for beginners. So we're going to go through some of the most common forward bends that you'll come across in a more dynamic yoga practice. So that's things like Ashtanga, Vinyasa and Hatha yoga. And we'll look at also different ways that you can kind of modify the posture to best suit how your body feels on a particular day. Since forward bending involves quite a lot of stretching in the hamstring that can be a little of a sensitive area, I'd suggest it's really helpful to start by warming up with a series of sun salutations before trying these postures out. So we're going to start coming up to our standing forward bend, known as Uttanasana. So you can start by standing with your feet hip distance apart. And we're going to hold the hips here. You're going to keep the legs sort of as straight as you can. And on the exhale, start to fold halfway forward. You're keeping the legs long, spine long, and then inhaling, coming up again. And we'll just do this a few times. So exhaling, coming into a sort of halfway position, inhaling, coming up again. And we'll do this a couple more times. So belly stays firm, spine is long. And inhale, coming forward. Inhaling, coming up. And then we're going to come into our sort of half forward fold here. And this is sort of perhaps your maximum with the legs straight and the spine straight. And then you're just going to slightly bend the knees, fold a little deeper forward, and let the hands be heavy here. Now this is where you can really feel free to bend the knees as much as you need so that the head can relax here. You're working maybe about 70% stretch in the legs. So if it feels a bit more than 70%, legs can bend more. If you want to add a little bit additional, you can start to straighten the legs a little more. And the other thing you can play with here is leaning maybe a little forward to the toes to get a little bit more deeper into the posture. Or if you wanted equally to ease off, you can come the other way. So you lean to the heels, lean to the toes, come back to the heels, forward to the toes. Try this a couple more times. And then we're going to stay about 5 more breaths. You can hold the opposite elbows here, relax the head down, and start to rock a little from side to side. Again, if you need to bend the knees a little deeper, feel free. Staying here, 1 more breath. And then you can slowly bring the hands back to the hips. Inhale, come into a halfway lift. So see if you can lengthen through the lower back, through the legs. And then coming all the way back up to standing again. Now we're going to come to another standing pose with the legs wide. This is known as the wide-legged forward fold, Prasarita, Padottanasana. And the key in this posture is to first make sure, particularly if you've got long legs, that your stance is nice and wide. And then your toes are going to come a little in, heels are coming a little out here. Hands come to the hips. We're going to inhale, lengthen up. And just like we did before, exhaling halfway forward, inhaling back up again, exhale halfway forward, inhaling back up, and just doing this a couple more times. And then the next time that you fold forward, you can start to bring the hands down in front. If you need extra space here, you could either have the hands on blocks, so hands are a little higher, or you could bend the knees so that, again, the hands are lower, but also the hips are sinking. You're comfortable though with the legs straight. That's fantastic. You're leaning a little forward to the toes. And then you can either stay here, or we might walk the hands a little back. And again, exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lengthen up. Exhale. And inhale. Exhale. And inhale. And then you can come again sort of to your maximum. Now that might be a little further forward. It might be in the halfway lift with the slight bend through the knees. And it's the same principles here. So you might see how it feels to lean the weight a little forward to the toes. You want to ease off. You might lean the weight the opposite way. So that means the hips are less above your ankles. So again, rocking forward, rocking back. Staying here 2 more breaths, so either in your halfway lift or maybe slightly folded. And then we're going to inhale, come all the way back up. So hands come to the hips, come up to standing. And then you can just step the feet together and come to sit down. So we're going to explore folding forward first over one leg, seated. We need a little bit of opening in the hips, but with one leg bent and one leg straight, you'll find you've got a little bit more room. So the left leg is going to be straight. We're bending the right knee opens to the side. Imagining sort of like you're standing on that left foot, so left foot is actively pressing away. Inhale, we'll first lengthen up through the arms, so we're really creating that space here. And then hands can come somewhere on the shin. We're keeping the spine straight, and it's like our halfway lift here, but in a seated position. So you're seeing if you can really kind of lift up through the chest here, lengthen through the lower back. Then we'll try a few breaths, coming a little bit further forward, but allowing the spine to round a little. So you might frame now the left leg with the hands. If you want a bit more space, hands can be more forward. And you can just drop the head a little down. This still feels uncomfortable. You could have the knee bent. This is particularly nice if you've got tension in the lower back. You might be holding the foot while still holding with the hands framing the leg. And then you could experiment, of course, seeing after that how it feels to allow the leg to be long and drop the upper body towards the leg. Staying here 2 more breaths. And then slowly inhale, coming back up again. And we'll change sides. So right leg extends, left leg bends, left knee opens. If you prefer to have this foot slightly further away or support under the knee, feel free. Now, right leg is active. We're going to inhale, lengthen up through the arms. Exhale, arms slide down. We're first again coming into our halfway lift. So you're going not as deep as you think you might. If even here it's hard, by the way, to keep your lower back straight, you might be further back, or you might raise the hips a little, so sitting on a cushion or a block. From here, we're going to experiment with framing the leg with the arms, allowing the upper body to round a little, so we just ease our weight a little bit more into the posture. Either the hamstring or your back is complaining a little, you could bend the knee, maybe hold the foot, or have the leg a little bit more extended, arms coming more in front. Staying here, 2 more breaths. And then you're slowly using the inhale to come back up. Exhale, extending the legs and just shaking through the legs here. Great, so we're now sort of set up for our seated forward fold with both legs straight. So this is a nice one to do after we've done one leg at a time. We'll start with the feet hip distance apart. Similar to when we were approaching this posture standing, we're going to start with the knees bent, lean a little forward, and start to reach towards the feet or towards the ankles. Head can drop here. Lower back is nice and supported. And then you can start to see how it feels to first extend the legs a little. So there might be a little bit of bend still in the knees. Head is dropping. There's space between the legs. And then you can stay here, or you could start to extend the legs, maybe bring the legs a little closer. First, maybe coming again into that halfway lift position, so hands might be closer or further away. And then you're easing, again, the weight forward. So again, we're allowing spine to round a little. And again, just finding that 70% sort of stretch through the back of the legs here. Staying here, 3 more breaths. And then you're slowly on the inhale, coming up, and just bend the knees, rock the knees from side to side. And then just coming to a comfortable seated position, and we'll just finish with a few slow, steady breaths, eyes closed, hips heavy. Can slowly start to open the eyes again and just coming back again to your surroundings. So thanks for joining me through this short practice of forward bends. We were focused particularly on looking at a few options for some of those most common forward bends, but it's worth mentioning also that the ability to kind of fold forward, a lot of that kind of restriction that you might feel is related to different areas of the hip being tight. So sometimes even though you might sort of feel a lot the hamstring and you might kind of say, okay, I think I'm approaching the pose correctly, maybe the area that's kind of holding you back going further into the posture is actually some sort of tightness either in the hip flexor or the outer hip or something. And that might be what kind of stops you leaning forward and back. So just to kind of demonstrate that, if I'm tight here in the hip flexor, it's going to be hard to even sit upright. So then I might have to sit a little higher to be able to have any possibility to lean forward. So why I mention this as a beginner, it's worth keeping in mind that some of these postures, the best version for you now might not mean that you feel an intense stretch in the hamstring, and that's okay. If you do, and it feels also the next day that you can really feel like maybe you've overstretched, I'd suggest that's also an indication for next time to perhaps bend the knees a little more or spend a little bit more time warming up before you approach some of these postures. So yeah, thanks for joining me. Curious to hear how you got on. And do check out my free yoga at home guide for sort of tips and tricks of how to create and sort of maintain as well a home yoga practice. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next time. Bye.